One of the things that drives me absolutely crazy about US politics is that we have to keep fighting battles that should have been won decades ago. In fact, some of these battles were won decades ago, and even longer than that ago, but they still keep rearing their ugly head because of bad ideas persisting and backwards ideologies persisting. So look at this. Oklahoma superintendent vows to, quote, fight the radical myth of separation of church and state. So this is the guy right here. His name is Ryan Walters. Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters on Tuesday vowed to bring Christian prayer back into his state's public schools and suggested that the notion of church-state separation in the U.S. was a myth. Writing on Twitter, Walters linked to a story about a recent speech he delivered to the Pray, Vote, Stand Summit in Washington, D.C., where he called for bringing back prayer in schools and argued that there is no separation of church and state in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence. It doesn't exist. Commenting on this speech, Walters wrote, "We will bring God and prayer back in schools in Oklahoma and fight back against the radical myth of separation of church and state." So, needless to say, the argument he's making is total garbage. And he's making this argument because he's a theocrat. He believes in a Christian theocracy. So in reality, of course, the First Amendment explicitly states, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So what does that mean? To say you're not allowed to establish a religion, that means the government and public institutions cannot support one particular religion over another religion and have this as the official religion. That's what this guy wants to do with Christianity. Says no separation of church and state, let's do Christian prayer. Well, that is establishing the Christian religion in a public institution that is absolutely unconstitutional, and it's been adjudicated as such. And the second part of that, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, a good example of this is, if a student wants to silently pray on their own while they're in a public school, nobody can stop them. Because we're not doing state-enforced atheism or agnosticism or anything like that. What we're doing is you're allowed to have whatever religion you want to have and practice it within the bounds of reason, within legal, reasonable boundaries, right? You can't do like an honor killing and say it's my religion, but you're allowed to have whatever religion you want. But government institutions, public institutions cannot enforce a religion or have a religious viewpoint. It has to be secular. Now, beyond that, of course, Thomas Jefferson was the person who literally came up with the phrase, let's build a wall of separation between church and state. That was in a letter that he sent in 1802. So this guy, Walters, he has been like this for a very long time. He, according to Raw Story here, he courted controversy with his ambitions to bring religion back into American classrooms, and last year he vowed to force Oklahoma teachers to undergo, quote, patriotic education that was based on Judeo-Christian values. So this is one of those guys, and Trump tried to do this on his way out the door, too, if you guys remember, late in his time in office. He wanted a patriotic education thing, where it's like, they want to do propaganda and indoctrination into a right-wing, American exceptionalist, theocratic Christian worldview. That's what they want to do. And it entailed a whole bunch of nonsense. Teaching that, Ronald Reagan was the best president of the modern era and trickle-down economics is correct, and, maybe slavery wasn't as bad as it's portrayed, and actually they had good housing, and were treated pretty fairly overall. This is all hand in hand. And now you get this guy, again, waging a battle that was already settled so long ago, man. This battle is so old. Yes, there's separation of church and state. Yes, we're a secular country. But they will not give up. And it's a constant battle, and people need to be aware of that. That you will always have these little areas across the country, usually rural, red areas, that are insisting, no, we will do prayer in school. And by the way, these goofballs think there's actually a solution to... apart from it being unconstitutional on its face, it's also not a solution to anything. Remember when Mike Huckabee said the reason why we have mass shootings is because we took prayer out of school? This is where these clowns are at, man. This is where they're at. So, here we go again, fighting the same old battle that we fought last decade, and the decade before that, and the decade before that, and the decade before that. All right, guys, that's the show. I love you all as always. Thank you for listening to me run my mouth. It's kind of what I do, and I appreciate the support. So do me a big favor. Please click like and click subscribe. That means the world. It helps us in the algorithm. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. You can support the show on Patreon if you're so inclined. The link's below, or tip on YouTube with the thanks button. That link's below. Link is below as well. And yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.